happen?
Let's talk some football and mic up Mr. Cole. Robin, it's Bob and Tony. How are you, sir?
Hi, Robin.
I'm doing fantastic. Hey, Tony, how you doing? Bob?
Great.
Good to hear from you guys.
It's great to hear from you, and we had so much fun talking on Thursday Night Tailgate. We've talked to Robin a few times on the radio side. Now he's on the television side, and we're honored to have any of the former Steelers we talked to. It's always a pleasure. Again, for our viewers at home, Robin played 12 seasons in the NFL between 77 and 88, and the majority of it with the Chuck Noll Steelers. First-round draft pick out of New Mexico, grew up in Compton High School in California. One of 10 children, big family, and again, it's an honor to have you. And I want to get back to those early days in Compton, Robin, and talk about growing up in such a huge family, being so close-knit. I'm sure times were tough, but it probably, when you look back, it was probably an advantage for you.
Yeah, growing up in an area which, when you're young, you don't think about much about where you growing up. We thought that we grew up, and I thought that I grew up in a fantastic neighborhood, which to me it was. And, growing up, playing sports, Little League Baseball, playing a little basketball, wrestling, and some of the things that we did with older brothers and sisters, they were always involved in some form of sport. And then on Sunday, Thursday number one, we always had choir rehearsal because as a young man, sung in the choir at the church. And then on Sunday, we spent time at the church every Sunday, taking the whole family and a lot of occasions to kind of think back and say, how did we all get in that one vehicle? But we did. Man, but, when I look back on the area, though, it was, when we were growing up, it wasn't as much activity that began to happen later on in life, up in high school when things begin to change and the gang-related people started to move into the area from upper Los Angeles area and try to, persuade so many of our young guys that used to play sports became a little active and doing things that just wasn't kosher in the neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And but by that time, I was myself focused on playing football, and then I was more than that focused on how was I going to get an opportunity to go to college. So when I first looked at, what and which way that was going to go, and thinking about it, I just was able to stay focused, and I think I was more blessed to be focused and stay focused on that area because it was about leaving the area, getting the opportunity to go to college and begin looking at what I was going to do as a young man in the future.
And Robin, as far as how you landed at New Mexico, I'm sure there was other schools after your services and everything, but a kid from Compton, how did you end up in New Mexico?
Wow, that was quite a story. As I look back on it and talk to people about that, I'm going to have to put that in my book too.
Yeah.
I had visited quite a few colleges. I had scholarship opportunity to UCLA, Stanford. I even had a scholarship opportunity to go all the way from California when they began to talk to me. My grade point average was 3.5 at the time, and that's when Yale was even kind of looking for opportunities in youth that may possibly wanted to go to school all the way across the United States. But I had never been out of California, so I didn't pursue that very long. Mm-hmm. And then we had some other small colleges that were there, University of Hawaii. The last school that I visited was the University of New Mexico. And when I got to the University of New Mexico, I really enjoyed the landscape of that place. And still today, I'm just still in love with the landscape of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the people were just so nice. Me being as a young man, over the years, I still have friends there that was a part of that group. A lot of them now serve in the capacity of legislation, congressmen, and the people that I went to school with. And but the area is what sold me. I was in love with the area, and then after that, then I kind of began to figure out, well, how can I be a part of a winning team? How can when this program become a winning program? And I thought with the freshman base that we had come in, we had, I think it was like 65 scholarships that were given that year. And I thought by the time we were seniors, we all figured it out. But that just wasn't the way it was. And I don't think Frank Cush was going to let that happen over at Arizona State.
Yeah.
That beat on us every year, along with Brigham Young, Arizona, and the rest of them.
Yeah, that's it. It's,
but when I look back, I said, well, why University of New Mexico? That was one of the things. I thought it was an opportunity for me to get out of the city, get away from the city, and be out far enough to where I could really focus on going to school and becoming the best man that I could become, but also become the best football player that I could become. Now, every school that I had visited up to the University of New Mexico had my major. I wanted to major in criminology.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it didn't have my major until I was already in 2 days preparing ourselves for the first football game.
Wow.
We had to take a break on Friday, and the coach said, tomorrow, we're not practicing tomorrow because freshmen have to go get their classes. Okay? So I go to get my classes. They asked me, what did I want to major in? I said, I want to major in criminology. They looked at me and said, well, we don't have that major. I said, what do you mean you don't have that major? I said, no, we don't have a criminology major. We have one criminology class, but we don't have that major. And from there it was, okay, what do I do next? Because I'm not going to leave the university. I have a commitment with the team. And that was it. And I enjoyed it. I talked myself into becoming a better football player than maybe I thought I could be by talking early on and telling the reporters that I was going to become an All-American. And after I said that and they laughed at me, then I realized that I had a lot of work ahead of me.
And it sure panned out. Robin is a member of Tony of the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame,
Yes,
the Albuquerque Press Hall of Fame, and of course was an All-Pro in '84 with Pittsburgh, two-time Super Bowl champion. Tony has some questions.
Robin,
Tony.
and thank you and good evening, and it's of course a pleasure to have you. You go from New Mexico to Pittsburgh to Chuck Noll to Terry Bradshaw to the Cold to Jarella's Gorillas. I mean, that must have been like total culture shock.
Joe Bersinka, which was good ham. Jack Ham, the Lambert. I mean, golly, we had you had lunatics, you had all the things. You had the wood ticks, the lunatics, and also you had politics that was going on there.
Oh, sure.
and here I was. I dropped into I'm drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm excited about being a part of the team, but the first thought was, wow, they had already won championships. Golly, most of the teams that I've seen that have won a Super Bowl, they don't come back for a long time.
Sure.
I wonder if I missed my opportunity. But little did I know that after 77 seasons, after breaking my arm that first game and missing the next 7, I did come back and finish the year. But then 1978, we start that season off, and that wasn't a fluke season at all. That preparation for that season started when we lost against the Denver Broncos. I can remember when we lost against the Denver Broncos after that game, we were preparing for a nice trip back home. Even though we lost the game, we say nice trip. Season was over, and we all got on the plane. And Joe Green, in that game, there were some things that happened in that game, and Joe was very upset about losing that football game. Terry threw a couple of. That's when Tom Jackson, I think, became Hall of Famer because Terry, I think, threw three interceptions to Tom Jackson.
One game.
From the sideline, we looked like every time we turned around, Jackson was just throwing the ball. And we didn't know if what was going on there. But after that game, we were preparing ourselves for a nice trip home, and then Joe Green got on the plane. And we were kind of, the game that we played, you know, normally when you're on a plane, you played cards or you played the backgammon game or something like that. Guys had things that they were doing while they discussed what happened during the game or after the game or just all the way through. And I noticed that I don't know, maybe I was about 8 or 9 rows back, but I noticed when Joe Green passed the first class section, he got to our section, and he reached over and plastered somebody's backgammon board on the ceiling of the plane. And I was sitting next to Dirk Winston, and I said, "Hey, man, put the backgammon board away because something's happening up front."
Oh.
And Joe Green got on the plane and screamed, and he said, "Next year, we're coming back. And if any of you don't wish to be with us, get off the plane right now."
Oh, boy.
And nobody got off the plane. You know, I thought maybe somebody was going to get off the plane. I knew I wasn't. I was a rookie, so first year. I hadn't got paid for my work yet.
Yeah.
So that's when it started for us. He said, "Next year, everybody better come back ready." And I remember that off season, I had conversation with different guys because I was still living in California at the time in the off season. And guys were talking about they've been running the 350s. Everybody came back in shape. We had run 350s better than they had in the past. Everybody was under the number. There was a timing number that we had to run the 350. They were calling 350s, 350 yards around the field there. And we all ran them in a great time. And the coach said, "Wow, you guys are in great shape." And so we came back with a plan to get to the Super Bowl. And in '78, we did.
Sure did. And again.
And the momentum from that took us to the Super Bowl in '79 again.
True. The team went 26-6 in those 2 years, 2 Super Bowls in a row under Chuck Noll. How were the Chuck Noll practices, Robin? Was it rough back then?
Oh, yeah. Chuck only understood one way.
Yeah.
Chuck was Vince Lombardi. I mean, all the young Chuck, you know, Don Shula, all those guys, they practiced.
Yeah.
Okay, it was always full gear 3 times a week, and then we played on Sunday. Very, very active, very, very physical, weightlifting, the whole thing. And so that's kind of my whole career was under Chuck. They began to slow down after I left the game. Some teams had made those adjustments a little sooner than that. San Francisco started to make those adjustments in '81, '82. And we were still physical all the way up during my whole time with Chuck, which was 12 years in camp, okay? My last year, just after we left camp, after I was done with the physical part of the season, the toughest part of the season, then I was cut that first Monday. And then I ended up with the New York Jets to finish the season with them.
And all those Steelers, we were talking before the show, Robin, about the amount of Hall of Famers during that tenure in Pittsburgh. I mean, and you were one hell of a player. Tony and I, we watched you weekly. You were a heck of a player, but did you ever feel like you were overshadowed by these guys and maybe didn't get the credit you deserved?
The attention?
The truth, yes. The truth is yes.
Right.
In 1979, I thought that I should have got some play for Pro Bowl in 1980 and on, and I did get a little bit. I was the alternate 2 of those years prior to becoming a Pro Bowler in '82, and then I was alternate 2 years after that. And it was just picking and choosing. Is basically what it was. Right. Okay. Not everybody can get in there, but I wouldn't trade the team that I played for nothing. It's just, the guys that started the trend or it started the momentum of us winning Super Bowls, they were still there, and their turn was first. And the goal was then to get them to the Hall of Fame. and with two linebackers already there, we had three linebackers there, also with Andy Russell.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, and you also, and then you had other teams that said, hey, we got linebackers too. We can't keep sending all the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Pro Bowl.
It's like the Yankees.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, there was. And so I just, I just had to buy my time. If you go back and start looking at film, not very few people turned that right side corner when I was on the field. Okay.
For sure.
And it's just it could have been myself. It could have been Hammer. It could have been some of the other guys that played that also made it there. But I was a little overshadowed. But and then you couldn't. Everybody couldn't go to the Pro Bowl. I mean, we still had quite a few guys that were going every year, and
right.
You're next in line, and so you just had to suck it up and say, hey, what is it? What's the most important? And the most important for me at the time was being on a winning team. And I'm glad I stayed.
You sure did. And as we talk to Robin, we have various pictures on the TV screen at different points of his career. Tony?
And Robin, you go to New York and you play a year there. It's not Pittsburgh. How did your career end, and did you think about going into coaching or administration in football?
Yeah, I sure did. I thought about going into coaching. In fact, I had the opportunity to stay with the New York Jets at the time, and because Coach Walton asked me. Coach Walton was a great coach.
Mm-hmm.
I really still today, Coach Walton. I love the guy. The way he treated the players. He was just a great guy. I had no qualms with him at all. He was just a great communicator. I really got to know him after I left the Jets and start coaching with him when he started the Robert Morris football program here in Pittsburgh.
I see.
At Robert Morris College. And then I coached with him for a few years. But at the New York Jets, he called me in. I injured my toe is what I did. I really injured a bad injury on my left foot. And he realized that I wasn't going to be able to come back. I thought I needed to give it more healing time, but I really didn't understand the injury. The injury was a lot worse than what it felt like. And I didn't come back. In fact, it took me a couple of years to start jogging again. But he did offer me to stay there and coach the outside linebackers with the linebacker coach while he coached the inside linebackers. And at that time, I had a business deal that I was working on in the off season here in Pittsburgh with a car dealership. And even though I wanted to stay, I still had family here. I had 3 kids living in Pittsburgh.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to make a decision on that. And that decision ended up being that I would come back to Pittsburgh and, be with family. And I got started in an automotive dealership at the time, which I ended up going back to school and learning how to run car dealerships soon after that. And that was it.
Yeah, and again, quite the career, and for the amount of physical practices and the games and the teams you play with, Robin, no one gets out of that game with their health intact. We were just wondering, not to be so personal, but how is your health these days? And while you were playing, I mean, did you have any decimating injuries?
Well, my first game was Monday Night Football.
Right.
Regular season, I broke my arm in half.
Jeez.
I come back 8 weeks later and finished out the year with a broken arm. It was still broken throughout the last 8 games. Even though I had surgery, I had a pin in it, but he realized that it wasn't healed properly, and we wrapped it up, and I continued to play the rest of the season that year. I had some injuries that I missed games over. In '82, I remember having a real bad injury that I'm glad we went on strike after we played the Cincinnati Bengals because I needed all 8 weeks to get well. But we've had some injuries over the year. I've had my share of concussions and neck and shoulder injuries. At linebacker and playing defensive end, you're going to go through some of those things. And other than that, I mean, today it's a lot of aches and pains, a lot of soreness. I kind of have to, a couple of days a week, I make sure I'm in the gym and I go there to get in the whirlpool and get in the sauna.
Yeah.
And while I'm there, I lift some weights.
Yeah, yeah. Got to stay active. I know it hurts.
Oh, yeah.
It hurts more if you don't stay active, Robin. As crazy
you're
as it
exactly
sounds,
right.
but
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, you have to stay active, and you know, for us, and now at 62, you know, it just don't move as quick as you. Well, you know, that's everybody, but you just don't move as good, and the soreness and aches and pains, and you try not to take anything that's too hard on your stomach.
Right.
Pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you try to find natural things. So when I find something natural, I work with it for a little while, but after a while, it tends to wear off, and you have to change and begin to try something else, other alternatives.
Right.
You know, I still spend some time going to the chiropractor, need my neck adjusted, my back, and my shoulders, and it's just the way it is. Receive some stem cell treatment. That's the new treatment that's going around.
Yeah, we've heard of that.
Yeah.
And I received that in my right shoulder and my left hip and both of my knees. And it just takes some time for the healing process is long with it. It depends on where you got the stem cells from. But you just stay active. All you can do is just stay as active as you possibly can, and stay upright, and stay out of people's way.
Yeah.
And just live the blessed life that I've been blessed with, that the Lord has blessed me with, and just continue to just have a smile for people and keep believing in people. That's all.
Yeah, and Robin does an awful lot. Charitable causes and prostate cancer. We'll go into more of this when we talk to him on the football side on Thursday Night Tailgate. I'm sure we'll talk again down the road. He's been a great friend of that show also. And we want to thank you, Robin, for giving us
so much, Robin.
some time
it's really
tonight.
Been a pleasure.
And you keep on doing your great work, and we can't thank you enough for your graciousness and being generous with your time. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate having been with the show with you guys. Bob and Tony, keep up the good work, brothers.
You take care.
Thank you, kind sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
sure.
Good night.
All right, God bless. Bye-bye.